I definitely make better films than you. That's why my films were running. These star-based films, story, idea doesn't matter. It's the star which matters. And ultimately, your film is as good or as bad as the star.
Today we have with us Mr. Vivek Agnihotri, who will be speaking to us about his upcoming film, The Kashmir Files. I want to start by asking you, what was the trigger point to make a film on the genocide of the Kashmiri Pandits?
There was no trigger point as such. There are certain stories you want to make, you want to tell the world. And this perhaps is the most tragic and the most complex story of our times. And as a filmmaker, I thought that it is my duty and time has come that I must deal with this complex subject, which nobody is allowed to make a film on. So this untouchable subject, which a totally banned subject, I said, let me just pick it up, and rest is a history in front of you.
What were the challenges that you and your team faced while you were shooting for the Kashmir Files?
As far as physical challenges or threats from terrorist groups and all that, I had signed up for that, so I was pretty prepared for it. I knew all this will happen, that I can deal with political opposition. But the biggest hurdle is, which comes from a corrupt system called Bollywood. The problem is that when you go for casting, okay, a lot of youngsters who basically want to be in good books of the establishment, and establishment is run only by 4, 5, 6 big production houses or directors or writers or whoever, then they're scared to work with me in my films. So I have to find talent who is willing to work with me on such a sensitive subject and who totally believes in me, and that becomes a very difficult task. The second biggest hurdle comes from organizing money, because the Bollywood studios and the producers don't invest any money in these kind of subjects. And also they are so insecure about their own incompetence that they don't want to finance films without stars. Or the precondition of Bollywood is that your film either has to be based on a South Indian film or a Hollywood film, or it has to have big stars so that nobody has to think. So it's a non-thinking industry. It's a very spineless, coward industry. Absolutely coward industry. Coward people, what they do is they always attack fearless and courageous people. And you have seen, this is the history of the world. Socrates was given poison. The freedom fighters were hated by the establishment of India at that time. Even today, anybody who is anti-corruption is hated by corrupt people. So I'm also hated by Bollywood for the simple reason they know that my films expose their spinelessness. So main opposition came from Bollywood and Bollywood media. Besides that, the people of India and the Kashmiri Pandit community has blessed me, given them me so much love that even 10 next generations, my children, my grandchildren, can never repay the kind of debt we have.
Do you feel the reason why most of the films, big films, have failed over the years because they had a lot of Western sensibilities? They were not Indian enough.
Of course. See, you can run films with hype only for some time. See, the problem is that most of the people who are making movies today have never stepped outside of South Bombay or South Delhi. They don't even know what India is all about. Recently, a film came, very celebrated. I mean, everybody's talking as if it's the biggest hit, though it's not at all. Okay, the reality the audience knows, but they are using all their PR power and muscle to position it, because a big actress's career is involved in that. That's why. They are all psychopaths. But look at that. Anybody, even a 5-year-old child or any sensible person or a 90-year-old grandmother or grandfather, you show it to them in any part of India, ask them, have you ever seen anybody like that? Do you imagine this is possible in India? No. They'll say, no. You don't know. I mean, who keeps yachts in India? That's not Indian youth. Indian youth is like you. Indian youth is the person, the boy and the girls who are working in McDonald's. Indian youth is somebody who's pulling a rickshaw in Kanpur right now. Indian youth is somebody who's taking dabbas for lunch. Indian youth is somebody who's preparing for engineering and for becoming a doctor or CA. Indian youth is somebody whose parents are worried ki is beti ki shadi kab hogi. Indian youth is somebody who's tying cloth on her face and driving a scooty to go to a tuition and then to college, then tuition in the evening, then coming back home, making rotis with her mother for younger brothers and father. That is Indian youth. इंडियन यूथ है जिसको सुबह माँ टंकी में चढ़ा के कहती है पानी चेक करो, जो नल चेंज करता है, जो जाके आटा पिसवाता है. That is Indian youth. What kind of Indian youth do you know? Indian youth is not what your friends are. So they are fooling the audience, making these stupid films saying this is Indian youth. This is not Indian youth. How long can you keep a lie alive? Therefore, people are rejecting your films. Who is Indian youth? You go and see in the Kashmir Files who is Indian youth. That is Indian youth.
You know, you made Chocolate and Gold, which were your hardcore commercial pot boilers. And then, of course, you made the Tashkent Files. You are making the Kashmir Files. So was it a conscious decision to step into a more real world of storytelling?
Of course, yes. Two things. I never planned in my life to become a filmmaker. I was in advertising. And then when I was in advertising, then Z asked me to make some shows for them, like these 2-hour telefilms. So I made a film called Chocolate. And that time Z's policy was, the creative policy was, they didn't want to experiment with the new ideas. And they were hellbent that we make films on established novels, popular, successful novels or successful Hollywood films. So it was easy for television filmmakers. All these people who made with me at that time followed that. So we made something called Chocolate, which was based on Usual Suspects. And at that time in India, right from Mahesh Bhatt to Yash Raj Productions, to all the Sanjay Gupta or whoever you name it at that time, every single person was forced to copy Hollywood films because stars wouldn't do your films if it was not without seeing a DVD. At that time, it used to be VHS cassettes, without seeing those VHS and DVDs of a foreign film. So Chocolate was made because no actor listened to the script. They wanted to know which film it's based on. I said Usual Suspect. Everybody signed that film without even reading or listening to the script. This is the Bollywood for you. But then I realized that in Bollywood, your film can be as intelligent and as wonderful as the star's intelligence is. A film came at the same time, Chak De and Gol. Chak De had Shah Rukh Khan, Gol had John Abraham at the same time. Both equally appreciated. But if you take Shah Rukh Khan and put him in Gol without changing anything, and take John Abraham, put him in Chak De without changing anything, the business will reverse. Gol will do business what Chak De did, Chak De did business what Gol did. Then I realized in these star-based films, story, idea doesn't matter. It's the star which matters. And ultimately, your film is as good or as bad as the star. So I said, I'm not going to work in this system because it was not my plan to make movies. But so I left and I started teaching in management institutes, some top B schools, of the world. And that's where some students asked me to mentor them in a film, and we made Buddha in a Traffic Jam, and rest is history. And I decided I'll make films which are known for me. I'll make movies which are only the stories which only I can tell, nobody else can tell. I want this exclusivity on my creation. I don't care what kind of business they do. Even if I make a film in 10 years, I'm happy, but it has to be a Vivek Agnihotri film. And I've ensured in all my 3 films.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.